What's going on, everybody? I am finally back. I was changing my setup a little bit. I just got a new camera stand and I couldn't make any videos until that came. Also, I was waiting for the iPhone clip that comes with it to ship from China, so that took a while. But now I have it, I'm filming with it right now, and I'm gonna be back to making videos every single weekend. I'm gonna put the can on that video I talked about doing what's wrong with the DC Cinematic Universe, because right now I just don't feel like it's as relevant as it would have been a month ago. And there's a lot of other things I wanna talk about on this channel, so I'll say this. If Wonder Woman's awful, then I'll do that video, but as of right now, I'm putting the can on it. So this year's been a really odd year for film. We had a terrific spring with movies that came out of nowhere that were just really great, and then we had some really good blockbusters that came out during that time, but summer was really disappointing. The only great movies that came out of this summer were probably just independent films, save for some greats like Captain America or Star Trek. So with the disappointment that came from this year's summer, we have a new season coming right around the corner, fall, and there's a whole slew of great movies coming out, so let's talk about them. So starting off with this month, on the 16th, we have Snowden. This is directed by Oliver Stone. We have Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing Edward Snowden. Shailene Woodley is also cast, and holy crap, Nick Cage! I'm intrigued by this movie. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a great actor and a terrific choice to play Edward Snowden. And I think the story of Edward Snowden has potential to be really interesting and a really tense movie, even though it's never been attempted before. So we'll have to see how it turns out. And towards the end of the month, we have The Magnificent Seven. This is a Western from the director of Training Day and has a really good cast with Chris Pratt, Denzel Washington, Vincent D'Onofrio, Ethan Hawke, a whole bunch of cool people. Right now, I like the look of this movie and what it's going for. I think it looks very Tarantino-esque, and some people might say that it looks like it's trying too hard to be a Tarantino movie. I kind of disagree, because I just want to go to the movies and see a good Western. We don't get too many of those, and hopefully this movie will be as fun as it looks. On October 14th, we have The Accountant. This film was directed by Gavin O'Connor, and it has probably the best ensemble cast of 2016. You got Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, Anna Kendrick, J.K. Simmons, and John Lithgow. Wow! This movie's about a guy played by Ben Affleck who's incredibly gifted in fields like mathematics, and who's also a freelance accountant for some of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world. So it sounds really interesting. I like seeing Ben Affleck going back to something that's not Batman this time around. And John Bernthal to me is one of the greatest TV actors of all time, and I'd really like to see him give a knockout performance in something that's not a TV show. So this movie has me really excited. Switching gears over to the first week in November, we have a little film called Doctor Strange. This is the last comic book movie of the year. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Tilda Swinton, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Mads Mikkelsen, and it's directed and written by Scott Derrickson, who's primarily known for horror. I like it when Marvel picks these filmmakers that are known for doing things completely different than comic book movies, because it kind of gives them an opportunity to step out of their comfort zone as directors. Because, like, look at what the Russo brothers did with the Captain America series, coming from a bunch of B-list comedy movies. It usually has good results. This movie kind of looks like Inception with magic, and I like that. I think that's really great. But my excitement is hinging on seeing something completely new and different for this universe. And I think this movie's gonna give it to us. I don't really know anything about this character, and I hope this movie can convert me into a huge Doctor Strange fan. On the exact same day, we have a film called Hacksaw Ridge. I don't know anything about this movie, except for the fact that Mel Gibson is directing, and it's a war film. I mean, that sounds good, I'm on board, but I think it's worth noting that Mel Gibson hasn't directed anything in 10 years, so that might be a bit of a concern, but I like Andrew Garfield, and I just want to see a good war movie. I haven't seen the trailer, I don't plan on watching it, I want to go in not knowing anything that'll give me a good experience, but we'll have to see how this movie turns out. On November 18th, we have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This is the Harry Potter spin-off movie set in 20s New York, starring Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander, and it's about this guy who has to track down all these magical creatures that are running loose in the city. I am a massive fan of the Harry Potter film series. Look, I got the Elder Wand right here. How about that? I'm obsessed with these movies. I grew up with them. I think I got to a point where I was in like 4th grade where I was like watching one every single weekend because I was so obsessed. So I am emotionally and nostalgically connected to this universe so much. So I personally can't wait for this movie. Eddie Redmayne is a fantastic actor. I really like David Yates. I'm glad he's back directing because I really enjoyed his creative vision in the last few films. But the only real concern I have with this movie is that it tries too hard to fit in with the rest of the universe. Like, similar to how sometimes superhero movies will just reference random characters or events that happened in their universe rather than focus on the quality of their own film. So I just don't want this movie to be like a big Hogwarts reference fest. And I don't think it's gonna be. I really like the direction that this movie's going in. And I got chills watching the trailer, and I can't wait to step back into this universe. On November 23rd, we have a film called Allied. This is directed by Robert Zemeckis, and it stars Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard. That already has me excited. It's set in 1942, and from what I've read, it's a film that uses war as a setting, but largely follows the romance of a French resistance fighter and an intelligence officer. And that sounds really interesting. You know, Robert Zemeckis is kind of a hit or miss director in these past few years, but you know, he's the guy that gave us Forrest Gump and Back to the Future, so we'll have to see how this one turns out. And on the same day, we have a new film from Disney Animation Studios called Moana with the voice work of The Rock. You know, Disney Animation has really surprised me these past few years. Like, I loved Wreck-It Ralph, I enjoyed Frozen, Big Hero 6 I loved, and Zootopia was amazing. What was great about all those films is that they appealed to a very wide audience age range, and I hope this one does. I think it looks like a very beautiful movie. Also, the poster's really cool. And I hope I can walk out saying, wow, that was really more than just a kid's movie. I guess studios really want to get their movies out on Thanksgiving week this year because on the exact same day, again, we have a new film titled Bleed for This. This is a boxing movie starring Miles Teller and Aaron Eckhart. That is literally all I know about this movie. I don't know anything about this movie. I haven't watched the trailer. I don't even know who Miles Teller's playing in this movie or what boxer he is. But that's all I want to know. I want to go into this movie not knowing anything and hopefully being pleasantly surprised. I think Miles Teller is one of the best young actors of this generation, but seeing him in a mustache, like, oh god, that's gonna take some getting used to. Now let's get into the last month of the year, December. First off, we have a film on December 16th titled La La Land. This is directed by Damien Chazelle and it stars Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. I have been waiting for this movie forever. It was supposed to come out this July, but then it got switched to Christmas, and I hope the wait has been worth it. Damien Chazelle directed one of my favorite films of all time, Whiplash, and I love Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. I think they're really great actors. And this movie, it looks so beautiful. The cinematography from what I've seen from the trailers, it looks amazing. This movie is about a jazz pianist that falls in love with an aspiring actress in Los Angeles, and it looks like a very beautiful movie. And I think if this movie is as good as it looks, we might have the next great filmmaker of our generation on our hands with Damien Chazelle, because he's directing a very different looking movie than his last film, Whiplash. And oh my god, I hope this movie's good. Please don't let me down. Don't let me down. And on the same day, we have a little film called Rogue One, a Star Wars story. This movie is the first Star Wars spin-off that we're getting. It stars Felicity Jones, Mads Mikkelsen, Ben Mendelsohn, Diego Luna, Forrest Whitaker, and this guy. Some of you might know him as Darth Vader. This movie looks like a dark, gritty war film set in the Star Wars universe, and that is what I want to see. With this movie, I want to see something completely new and ambitious for this franchise, and I think it's going to give us that. I think Gareth Edwards is a terrific director. He did a really good job with Godzilla. And I think he really understands the scale and scope of this universe, which is really important. Everything we've seen from the footage looks like it's straight out of 1977 or classic Star Wars. Now, Darth Vader in this movie, I really want him to play a significant role. I don't want him to show up for a little bit of time, walk into a few rooms, sit down, and be like, hey, I'm Darth Vader, hopefully I get a spin-off movie in the future, and then leave. I want him to serve a purpose in this movie, not like the Joker in Suicide Squad. Let's not have that happen. Also in this movie, I want to see Darth Vader when he's in his prime, like the kind of Vader that you read about in books like Lords of the Sith, because that'd be awesome. Rounding out the year on December 21st, we have a sci-fi film called Passengers starring Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, and it's from the director of The Imitation Game. This film is about two people who are on a spacecraft that are being transported to another planet that has a malfunction in its sleep chambers, and as a result, they wake up 90 years earlier than intended to. Despite the fact that they're some of the most overused actors in Hollywood right now, I still really like Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, and I'm interested to see them in this movie. I would really like to see what their chemistry is like and how it plays out. And we've had a lot of really good sci-fi movies in the past few years, like Gravity, Interstellar, and The Martian, and I want to see if the director of The Imitation Game makes me care about this universe and makes me care about these two characters. And the last film I want to talk about in 2016 is Assassin's Creed. This is from the director of Macbeth, and it stars Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard. Okay, so they've been talking about making this movie forever, and now that it's actually happening, my thoughts are exactly like they were 5 years ago if you asked me about this. I think Assassin's Creed could really, really, really work as a movie if it's done right. We've had a lot of video game movies this year that have been just absolute bombs, like Warcraft and Ratchet and Clank and Angry Birds. The fact that Michael Fassbender is attached to this project gives me some hope because he's one of my favorite actors of all time, and Marion Cotillard's really great. I like that they've worked with this director before. That's always a good thing. And, you know, I'm still holding over for this movie. I think this could be it. This could be the video game movie that actually brings it for us, you know? this could be the movie that brings it home. We'll have to see. Alright guys, so those are my most anticipated films for the rest of the year. What are you guys looking forward to? Do you think I left out anything on this list? And, you know, what are your most anticipated films for the fall and winter of 2016? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and also thank you guys for sticking with me through the hiatus. Until next time, I'm Fletch. You can follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.